Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. Basic human rights for all people, meaning that all human beings on earth living today, having their dreams come true as designed for by the Maker. I'm thinking today, ladies and gentlemen, that as each day passes and you grow closer to that hunger and that thirst, and that which is of mine is for you to really experience your dreams. I find that passing of a new day introduces me to a spirit of love, which says that when I speak to you, I should be more direct, more specific. You know, and I say that because oftentimes when I find myself speaking and I appear to be harsh in my communication, I want to hold back because I don't want to offend you. I want to hold you somewhat to an understanding that I might be okay. And each day tells me that when I feel like this, I'm doing you a disservice. I'm doing myself a disservice. And I'm doing heaven a disservice, which makes me or brings me to this point. When we look at our nation and we see that our concern is on a national interest, at least at the leadership, is building walls, confining ourselves from the rest of society, not just to confine ourselves, but to keep others out. When we find ourselves degrading people and putting them down and indicating that our concern isn't really people, which basically means our concern is ourselves. When we find that resources are being directed toward protecting a particular interest instead of the people, and you say instead of the people because the resources are directed to a special interest and taken away from the benefit of the people. And we have to experience history. And history teaches us, ladies and gentlemen, that what is happening now is nothing new. It is the same thing that's been going on ever since men have been on the face of the earth and decided to walk away from the path of truth. When they decided by choice to try it a different way. And all over the earth, wherever you are, it doesn't matter who and what kind of government you're living under. Some doing all right, some doing just, and others just hurting like I don't know what, is the mode of operation for all governments on the face of the earth. And I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that you heard it said that you must be born again. And that has really messed up your thinking. You've heard somebody describe it as some being born of water and some being born of fire and spirit. And then your interpretation is all off the mark. But if I were going to explain to you today what that meant, it really and simply means something like this. When you came into life in a body form here on earth, from the first moment you came into the reality of all that is, as far as you can be identified with your senses, from that point, you begin an education process. An education process that will teach you from not only how to really see and focus, or how to hear and focus, or how to smell and focus, or how to taste and focus, or how to eat, or how to speak, and how to walk. All of these things, it's a process. And you're learning as you go. And as you go, if you're here in America, you begin a language called English. In a Spanish place, you begin a language. In a Russian place, a Chinese place, you would begin a language. And all of these languages would be basically different. But you would learn them nonetheless. And in your household, in your nation where it is spoken, it is understood. But when you cross into another room, a room belongs to someone else who speaks a different language than you don't understand. And without that lack of understanding, you can't communicate. And you can't communicate, you really can't go any place. At least together. And so as each of you try to go but can't communicate, and your way is different from another's way, you're fighting. This is the way of the world, where every human being got their own idea about this or that. And you got some people that's more progressive and more forceful than others, who can impose themselves on others. They're usually the ones that are in control. And being in control, everybody else are controlled. That's representation of the world. But what is it that adds to being born again? Being born again means that you basically come into an understanding that everything that you understand, is a prescription of treatment, but not of healing. It's a prescription of maintaining the status quo, not to ending it. And so, rather than ending the dangers of cancer, of MS, we just keep on treating it generation through generation through generation. Hatred and animosity between nations and nations and nations, and people and people and people. Because there's no language that takes you anything other. So, when you recognize this, and I would say that what would bring you to a position of recognizing this is a hunger to want to know better, a hunger to want to do better. There's something inside of you that draws you to an acquiescence to the fact that everybody's important. They're as important as you. And because of that, your focus is not on the selfishness of what you can get out of life, but what we as a people can experience together in life. Well, that can bring you to a point. That's just stepping in the right direction. But in stepping in the right direction, as long as you keep moving, and I don't know where that move might take you, but if it's taking you closer to enlightenment, if it's moving you up to an understanding, then one day, somehow, maybe one night, some way, it's going to click. And not only are you going to see the world that you've been living in, but you're going to see the world that you want to live in. And when you see the world that you want to live in, you're going to see all of the stuff that's driving you crazy in this world eliminated. Now you're going to understand why it exists. But you're not in the world that you're seeing. That's a spiritual world. But that's the world you want to go to. That's the world you want to live in. That's the world you want this to be. And you understand that the world you're living in is a world of darkness, and now you have walked into the light, and everybody knows that you're in the light because the light is shining in you. And what is that light about that's in you? It's about peace and prosperity and joy that you see not only for yourselves in the world that you've been dreaming in now, you see it for all of humanity, and you begin to speak for it. And when you start speaking for all of humanity, you understand why they are taught to be like they are, but you don't sugarcoat it. You tell them that they are the problem. They are the problem. Everything that they do is keeping this system the way it is and driving it where it's going. And the only way it will change if you are born again, to be able to see it. And if you do, you're walking according to that light. And that walking that you do shines in such a way in this darkness that others who are reaching out, You can tell them because there are good things that's done in every society. Good things that are done in every society. It's not good enough to knock out the old, evil, anti-righteous way, but it's good nonetheless. And it is that goodness that has been holding on, that's hoping out, that now is reaching and hoping for that light that is in you to shine. And now that it's shining, they can step on up. And the God Almighty, the Spirit that is unseen, the light of the world, is in you. And it begins to change, and we can begin to see thy will being done on earth as it is in heaven, where there is no more suffering from things that we can fix. There's no more hunger for lack of food. No more homeless for lack of shelter. No more ignorance because of lack of education. No more sickness and disease because of lack of inadequate health care. No more crime and violence because of poverty. All of these things are fixed. And I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, if I tell you that I'm telling you that the power that is responsible for all earth has a plan that makes this real, and you're walking down a path that's taking you someplace else, it makes you seem like a person, or should I say people, who are trusting in a system, believing that the system cares about them. And one of you get in a position that you can have eyes on the system direct. And you find out that the system has the people thinking one thing, while the system is doing another. And the conscience of this observer says that this is wrong. The people must know. This affects the people. These things are being done in the name of the people. So the people should be able to give this some voice. In order to do that, they must know it. And since they won't tell it, this individual chooses to tell it. They call it whistleblowing. And the people who were trusting in other folks now have the knowledge to know that the people that they were trusting in are not trustworthy. But they're so trained, they're so brainwashed, that they get upset with the man for letting them know that they are being abused. They liked it when they was in ignorance, but now they know it, so they are mad, not at the person that's abusing them. The message comes out right now that we can be monitored from our televisions, from our telephones, from our parks and street lights. And nobody is saying, what the heck is this? Nobody is saying, we got to take this down because we demand our privacy. No, they're not saying that. They're trying to find out the ones who told it, so they can punish them, so they can put them in jail, letting the world know that when whatever we do, we are Lord God Almighty, and our lordship demands that you are forced, if need be, to comply to whatever we say. But when you're born again, you know that's all a lie. You know that's all a trick. And you have evidence because you do not walk according to the dictates of a system that leads away from peace and love and joy and brotherhood, that leads away from the power of the creative force. So you become a light. You don't become a part of the darkness. You become a light. That's what being born again simply means. You become a light. Now, there are many lights out there, you would say. There are people out there who, in order to be a part of the light, are picking up guns and bombs, killing each other, killing themselves, trying to kill others in the name of some God. And I want to tell you Those who are putting bombs around themselves, killing other individuals, innocent individuals, in the name of some God, are the same as nations that unilaterally, because of their power and their bullet-headedness, go out and unilaterally attack another nation, not even being provoked, but just trying to maintain their authority. There's no difference. Now, I know you who putting these bombs on yourselves think that the government that does that is wrong. And you think it's right when you do it. That is the same way of thinking. There's no difference in those ways of thinking. And neither one of them have a God of love into it anyway. There's nothing but anti-love. There's nothing but hate that provokes that. And for those of you who are so committed to that, who can hear me say this, and that God that you love tells you that I must die, and the first one that can get to me and take me out is the one that's going to have the highest place sitting next to the Father in heaven. And there are those who heard me say that, who think that you can come and kill me and make the people believe it was the other guys and their God that told them that they could have the highest seat. Well, now you've intervened and outdone the other God. All of it is about hate. All of it is about man and man's way of thinking or selfishness. It's all about anti-love. It's all about anti-God. And what I'm here to tell you for, ladies and gentlemen, is being that light. I'm sharing information with you right now that many of you have heard, but most of you have never even come close. So I'm saying to you, Eddie Marcus, once again, I will be as long as I get a chance to. Oh, incidentally, today I'm supposed to be going to court for that traffic thing I was telling you guys about. And I also mentioned to the audience here that they had sent me a letter and told me that they were going to give the plaintiff an extension of time. Now, this is about traffic. Usually, you go to traffic court, and the cop doesn't show up. It's dismissed. But for some strange reason, they want to give this guy, this case, an extension of time. And I've been trying to debate my approach. I've read a whole bunch of stuff, you know, that says this and says that about this and says that about this about that. But I want to be me. And so, being me, I think I should share my defense with you. Was I speeding? I really don't know. I wasn't paying attention. The cop stopped me and said I was. And at that time, I really couldn't argue because I did not know. Anyway, coming to this court, I see this court as representative of America's way of life. I have been spokesman and advocate for peace and prosperity and joy, basic human rights for all people for over 30 years. And you know what that is about. And here in the United States of America, they have regressed so far in their socialization until they are accepting candidates to represent them in the highest office they call in the land, in the world. And before them is nothing but evil, as the audio comes from those who are competing against them. And as the research is done, it is confirmed, and nobody is suing anybody. Everybody seems to be quiet, not trying to draw any more attention to it. And the people accept this and go to the polls and vote because they tell themselves, convince themselves that the one that's thinking more like them is the lesser evil. So they go and vote for that lesser evil. what you get is now the biggest evil. Well, as spokesman and advocate for basic human rights, how can I continue to even go along with the system? I want it to be known that I am against this system, and I'm against all the government systems on the face of the earth because they deny the truth of the Maker. And I know that the people don't understand it, so I can't really get mad. There were times when I was mad with the people because I thought that the people should understand. I understood, but I didn't understand the difference between understanding and being awakened. And so I know the people don't, when I say peace and prosperity and joy, they think bombs and guns and walls and ships. That's what they think about. They don't think about putting everybody in a position where they can participate in the creation of those elements essential for their lives. No, they don't think about that. When you start talking, and if you did, you think about how complicated that must be, because you're looking at the old way, the way of businessmen trying to make profit, not at the way of people trying to make sure that all the needs are met of the people, and it requires you doing what you love doing most. Golly, you think you'd be mad at me if you know that I know this stuff, and yet I walk down the same path, walking the same tracks that you make, trying to please the system. No, I'm not trying to please the system. I'm trying to change the system by educating you, the people, about something that's different. Educating you about being born again. Educating you about the powers of your own dream that lives within you and your ability to manifest that dream by working together collectively. Doing unto others as you have them do unto you. I mean, you know what? Simple for me. But I know I'll have to come back to you again. So anyway, I'm going to tell the court that this being the case, I can't argue whether I'm guilty or innocent. I don't know. But what I do know is that I do not plan to follow your system. You find me, do whatever you want to do to me, and the stuff that you can force me to do, I guess I'll have to. But the stuff that you can't force me to do, the stuff that is in my will, I'm not doing it. Because it is my will to shine the light on a different way of thinking, to shine the light on a world of peace, to shine the light on a world of prosperity, to shine the light on a world of joy. Bye-bye, y'all.